Turning Point is brought to you by PC Wealth Management of Morgan Stanley Smith Barney and the law firm of Duffy & Duffy, protecting the victims of medical error.
Welcome. Our special guest today is Jackie the Joke Man Martling. Jackie, I get that right?
Perfect.
I've been hearing it for years and years. I don't want to date you, but many, many years.
I was hoping you would date me. Times are tough.
I've been listening to you and calling your phone numbers and all types of things. Still the same number, by the way?
516-922-WINE, which is 516-922-WINE. 516-922-9463 has been in operation since 1979. If you dial it right now, you hear jokes, you hear where I'm performing.
You talk about no comedy clubs and certainly the telephone. You're kind of a pioneer in both of those fields, right?
What happened was I was a musician. I'm not really a comedian. I'm a dirty joke teller who just remembered.
What kind of musician?
Guitar player. And I've always remembered every joke I've ever heard since I was a kid. And I played the guitar in high school and in college, and then we had a band on Long Island in the 70s. And when my last band broke up...
What was the name of the band?
We were the Off-Hour Rockers, H-O-U-R, which was the name of my band at Michigan State University. And it was three guys, and we told dirty jokes and played our own music, which a lot of the songs Howard has played on the radio for years and years and years. And when that last band broke up, it's a great story. We were in a three-piece band, and I told jokes and fooled around. And the music wasn't as important to me as the fooling around. And the other two guys kind of wanted to be a little bit more serious about their music. And one night after the show, and the guy's still my best friend. Chris Bates is still my best friend in the world.
What's he do now?
He plays guitar and sells pharmaceuticals in Florida. But we were great pals since kindergarten. So I'm 63 years old. I've known him 58 years. We're still great, but we've been up and down. And we got done with the show, and him and Herbie, the piano player, came up to me after the show and said, "We're going to leave the band and start our own band." And I said, "I'm not a rocket scientist. But if there's three guys in a band and two of them leave to start their own band, that's kicking me out of the band, you know." But it was fortuitous because I had my guitar amplifier and my microphone and my speakers, and I met the comedians, Richie Minervini and Jim Myers, and at a place called My Father's Place in Roslyn, another iconic...
Epi Epstein.
Epi. And I went to Dixon's Comedy Club, and Richard M. Dixon, his White House Inn, where we met Eddie Murphy and Bob Nelson, Dave Hawthorne and Rob Bartlett and all these people. But Dixon wouldn't pay us. So me and Richie got the bright idea, let's put on our own show. And we did it at Cinnamon. And the comics came out from the city because instead of going around and making $5 a show, they were making $40, $50 from us.
And stage time. I mean,
and
let's face it.
stage time, which was invaluable, and that grew into the East Side Comedy Club.
You remember your first big payday as a comedian?
I'm waiting for that. The first time when I worked at the Rainy Night House on Union Turnpike in Queens and got up there and, you know, did my act for a half an hour, and the guy handed me 40 bucks. I was like, this isn't for playing music. This isn't a band. This is $40 for going up and telling jokes. And to me, that was not an epiphany. It was like,
this is real.
Wow. You know, I told my jokes and he gave me, you know. So as silly as it sounds, that was a huge payday because that was a turning point. And a guy named Ron Richards came up to me and said, "Hey, you know, I hear you produce shows." So he gave me a couple of his shows in Jersey because it was getting to be a demand. And he only had one set of speakers and amplifiers, and so did I. So, you know, I just met a guy the other day, said, "Hey, I used to see you at Mustache Pete's." It was so long ago that we're at Mustache Pete's, and somebody says, "You see that show up there? They're trying to do this new thing where it's videos of music." And it was one of the test places for MTV in 1979, you know.
How about touring, first tour?
I didn't really do a lot of touring until later, and I never did a lot of touring because after I got known a little bit on Long Island, thanks to 516-922-WINE, I got called to start a club at Governor's, which was a Governor's Comedy Shop, was a rock and roll club, and the neighbors had complained, so they wanted to try comedy, and they knew...
And that's on Long Island, New York.
In Levittown, New York, and they said, let's get that guy with the joke line. And they called me up, and I went over with my girlfriend, Nancy, who became my wife, and we said, put the speakers here and put the stage here, and I ran Governor's Comedy Shop. So I had a built-in gig, so I just went out one weekend a month, you know. But I went to the comic strip in Fort Lauderdale, which is the sister club of the comic strip in New York City. And Garvin's in Washington is actually where I was in August of 1982, when the owner said to me, there's a guy that just got fired on the radio down here, and he's going to New York City. And you really should look him up, because I think you guys would really get along great. He used to do broadcasts in his underwear live from our club, and he's really funny, and he's a really good guy. So when I got home, I sent my albums, like I sent to everybody, blindly, to Howard Stern, NBC AM, and he eventually called.
Let me take a quick break.
All right.
I want to ask you about that. You touched on running Governors. We're going to talk about a little bit about the business of comedy.
Sure.
When we come back, more with Jackie Martling.
You know what a birth control pill is? That's the other thing a girl can put in her mouth to keep from getting pregnant.
Turning Point with Frank Mackay is brought to you by Smith & DeGroat Real Estate, serving the tri-state area since 1955, and CAI Insurance Solutions since 1961. On the web at www.conferenceny.com.
Today at Atlantic Honda, we decided to interview some real customers.
Family-oriented, and I really like the spot.
The price is fantastic. I wasn't even planning on getting a brand new car, and I wound up getting no 12.
Lease a 2012 Civic LX for just $89 a month. Lease a 2012 Accord for just $139 a month.
So much to choose from, it was hard, you know.
Got 10 cars to them.
Have a very good finance program.
This surpasses anything we've ever experienced in other Honda dealerships.
Visit AtlanticHonda.com.
Hi, I'm Kevin Jonas.
And I'm Danielle Jonas.
And we chose to have our wedding at Oheka Castle because it's an amazing place where dreams can definitely come true.
Oheka is a real-life castle built back in 1919 by Otto Hermann Kahn. During the Roaring Twenties, he entertained famous celebrities such as Charlie Chaplin and Enrico Caruso. Lots of cool stuff happens at Oheka Castle, like weddings, bar and bat mitzvahs, sweet 16s, and historic mansion tours.
And this is Oheka Castle in Huntington, New York. So we love it there, and we cannot wait to go back.
We were dealing with a mountain of credit card debt, and we didn't know what to do.
Being in debt is a nightmare. The constant phone calls, the stress, and the damage to your credit report.
We felt trapped.
That's when I heard about Credit Guard of America.
They're a non-profit, licensed debt management company dedicated to getting people like us out of credit card debt.
If you have over $2,000 in credit card debt and are at least 30 days behind on your payments, then Credit Guard of America can help you.
They have a wide variety of programs that stop the harassment and reduce your monthly payments by up to 50%.
Call Credit Guard of America right now and get free of all credit card debt like we did.
I felt safe knowing that Credit Guard of America is a not-for-profit company.
We wanted a company that we could trust. And Credit Guard of America has helped thousands of Americans get out of credit card debt.
One phone call changed our financial future, and it can do the same for you.
Late fees and interest are putting you further in debt at this very moment. Do the smart thing and call Credit Guard of America right now.
Don't wait. Call immediately. It's time for a new beginning.
And we're back with comedian Jackie Martling. Jackie, before the break, we talked about you actually booking or running a comedy club. And it was really beginning of your career, or, you know, kind of the beginning.
Yeah, you know, it was like a couple of years into it. There, you know, I was working whatever shows there were around, and there weren't many shows around. Then the East Side Comedy Club grew out of the show that we had created at Cinnamon, and Richie Minervini and his brother owned that. And then the people from this rock and roll club came to me, and they wanted to call it Governor's Comedy Shop. And, you know, when we set it up, and I booked a couple comics, you know, each week, and I emceed, you know. I hosted the shows, brought on the comics, taped everybody, gave them tapes of their shows. It was a great, great gig. And then the deal was that one weekend a month I could travel and go to wherever I wanted. And we did that for, I think, 2 years. It was great. I also started the show. Before that, I had started the show at the Brokerage. Both of the shows that are still going on Long Island, I started both of them. I started them, I booked them. You know, I actually had Eddie Murphy at the Brokerage one weekend, you know.
You know, I was going to ask you about some of your guests at the original place. Who were some of the guests that came through there?
Bob Woods, who passed away, and Dave Hawthorne, Bob Nelson, Rob Bartlett, Richie Minervini, Jim Myers, and me. And Eddie Murphy was like the 8th guy, and Jeff Zabrowski and John Ferrantino, you know, they were like the they weren't in the actual 7, but there was the same gang of people that worked like at Richard M. Dixon's White House. And we had just, you know, the formative years. The first year is as memorable to me as the 30 years since. I mean, because it was just, I remember Bob Woods, he passed away, but I remember one time we're going over the George Washington Bridge, and he goes, you know you're in comedy when it's the 4th night in the week. You're on your way to Jersey, and it feels natural. You know, and we really were. We're the same guys in the car drinking crazy, you know. And it was just great fun. And we used to get up on stage, and I used to play the guitar, and the guys would come up and sing You Are My Sunshine together. There was such a camaraderie. It was just great times. You know, people still, all the guys, Nelson, Barlow, they all say, oh, we miss those days, you know.
A lot of partying among comedians in it.
Well, you know, a lot of us were drinkers and crazy. I was never really a druggie, you know, because I just loved beer and drank beer like crazy, and I couldn't afford cocaine, thank God, and just, yeah, but the times were just wonderful, you know, girls and fun and silliness, you know.
You have some legendary comedians such as Colin and Richard Pryor. I mean, these guys had their bouts.
One of my favorite things was a good friend of mine, Dennis Blair, is a terrific comedian, and he was a songwriter who used to come into the studio where I worked, the Workshop Recording Studios, and he was so funny. And I said, Dennis, what are you doing? You know, I'm almost making a living as a comedian, and you're so much funnier than me. So he started doing comedy. He wound up being George Carlin's opening act. And then he told me once in a while, him and George would be driving along, and just for the hell of it, they'd put in a Jackie cassette just to listen to my stupid jokes, which was just so flattering to think of making George Carlin laugh, because he was spectacular.
Did you have a mentor?
I loved Rodney. And like I said, it used to be such a huge event when Rodney was on The Tonight Show. And then, just like I sent Howard my albums, I sent jokes to Rodney Dangerfield, and he called me up. That's a whole story.
There's some controversy there, right, about stealing a joke or something?
Yeah, it's too long a story to go into,
right.
But, you know, if you listen to the story, it made total sense. I mean, it was barter. You know, $50 a joke is what he paid. So if I owed him money, it makes total sense.
Right.
But the whole thing about paying, but the classic thing was Rodney was on the Stern Show, so I don't remember anything, you know, paying me off in jokes, which was not true. Of course it was true. Yeah, I didn't make that up. But I wound up being with Rodney because Richie told me a lie. Richie Minervini came in one night and said, oh, I killed at Dangerfield's tonight. He loves me. So I typed up a bunch of jokes and said, give these to Rodney. You know, the next time I saw him, he said, I was lying. I didn't see Rodney. I didn't get on stage. And I said, well, I had the jokes already, so I mailed them. And 2 days later, he called me up. I'm sitting and my grandmother passed away. My girlfriend and I are sitting there. The phone rings. I answer the phone. I go, hello? He goes, hello. I said, who's this? And he said, it's Rodney. And I said, Rodney who? He goes, I knew you were funny. I could tell you were funny, you know. Why don't you meet me at West Bank? We wound up being pals for 10 minutes, and I sold him the 2-bagger joke, and it was a whole delightful thing, you know. But I loved him, so the fact that I got to travel with him, I traveled with him for 2 weeks, and I'm still thinking of things that happened, you know, that were just delightfully, crazily funny, but not him being funny, him being him. And him being him was so funny, you know, and I really did love him, you know.
You know, I talked to some people who knew him pretty well, and they said he was, like, bitter towards the end.
No, he was bitter from the day he was born. I mean, he just was a downtrodden guy, and that's, you know, he didn't get love as a kid and never recovered from it, so he was always getting high, and he was always crazy, but he was not bitter. He got old, you know.
Big pot smoker.
Crazy pot smoker, you know. He loved to get high. He lived to get high, and he was fun.
When we come back, more on The Stern Show and Jackie Martling.
A blind guy walks into Macy's, walks out in the middle of the floor, picks up a CNI dog by the tail, starts swinging around his head. Salesman says, can I help you? He says, no, I'm just looking around.
Turning Point with Frank Mackay is brought to you by Atlantic Honda, New York's auto giant, and Herman Katz, Kanjimi & Klein, property tax attorneys and advisors.
Today at Atlantic Honda, we decided to interview some real customers.
They're family-oriented, and I really like the spot.
The prices are fantastic. I wasn't even planning on getting a brand new car, and I wound up getting an 012.
Lease a 2012 Civic LX for just $89 a month. Lease a 2012 Accord for just $139 a month.
There's so much to choose from, it was hard, you know.
Got 10 cars to them.
Have a very good finance program.
This surpasses anything we've ever experienced in other Honda dealerships.
Visit AtlanticHonda.com.
Hi, I'm Kevin Jonas.
And I'm Danielle Jonas.
And we chose to have our wedding at Oheka Castle because it's an amazing place where dreams can definitely come true.
Oheka is a real-life castle built back in 1919 by Otto Herman Kahn. During the Roaring Twenties, he entertained famous celebrities such as Charlie Chaplin and Enrico Caruso. Lots of cool stuff happens at Oheka Castle, like weddings, bar and bat mitzvahs, sweet 16s, and historic mansion tours.
And this is Oheka Castle in Huntington, New York. So we love it there and we cannot wait to go back.
Why spend more than you have to on your life insurance? Did you know that term life insurance rates have fallen more than 60% in the past 15 years? I'm Byron Udell, founder of AccuQuote. At AccuQuote, we monitor the rates, features, and financial strength of hundreds of top-rated life insurance products from brand names you trust. Since 1986, we've helped hundreds of thousands of people just like you save a fortune on their life insurance. For example, a healthy 40-year-old can protect his family with the $500,000 of 10-year level term for less than $21 a month. We also have policies that guarantee your money back even if you don't die. So whether this is your first time buying life insurance or you want to see if you're paying too much, call today for your free quote.
Call 877-489-9639. That's 877-489-9639.
And we're back with comedian Jackie Martling.
Well, I'm a joke teller, not a comedian.
Yeah,
Is
there a difference?
Yeah, I go up and tell one joke after another, and I haven't told any joke yet, so I'm going to tell you a joke. The guy goes to the library and says, I need a book on suicide. The librarian says, like hell, you won't bring it back. See, that's what I do, silly joke.
Very good. And you don't care about offending people?
I don't offend anybody. I offend everybody. Come on, jokes. If nobody gets hurt, there's no joke there.
You're an equal opportunity offender.
Yeah, just have fun. Pick on myself, pick on you, pick on anybody.
The Howard Stern Show absolutely changed radio. Where does that show belong in the history of American entertainment?
I think it's the greatest radio show ever, and always will be. And then I'm not sure it can ever. The way the nature of things now is, how could anything come along and challenge it? You know, I guess I'm biased, but you know, it was great, and he broke so much ground. You know, I always tell people the same thing. I used to get interviewed, and people would say, "God, the show's so great, you know, but how much longer can it last?" And they asked me that in 1988. And then we got the Channel 9 show, and then they said, "Oh, you guys are so great, but how long can it last?" And then Howard wrote a book, and "Oh, you guys are so," you know. People kept saying, how long can it last? And then he added 10 more markers. How long can it last? Another, you know. And it just is going like that and like that and like that, you know. And I always said, I don't know. But he kept reinventing, you know. He's beyond brilliant, you know. And it was fun. It was such a fun ride. I mean, I can't even tell you, you know.
When Grant Tinker hears Howard Stern say something offensive, whatever, he immediately fires him, right? Is that what happened? This is when NBC happened.
Some RCA executive was in the limo, supposedly, and heard something lewd and said to the driver, "What is that?" And he said, "That's our station, sir." And he said, "Yank that guy off." But it wasn't Grant Tinker. It was some older guy. And I used to know the guy's name, but it's been too long, you know.
But he goes on FM and completely changes. And I guess him and Don Buchwald, right? They franchised himself and syndicated himself all over the country, picked up market after market after market. And, you know, people followed suit afterwards and just kind of used that same model for so much of what became FM radio, talk radio. But people did not believe that it was going to work.
It was a big experiment to see if radio would work, because radio was supposed to be something that was local. So it was very nervy to, you know, put the show on in Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia. And it was a huge success. You know, it took a while to beat the local guy there because the guy was so entrenched. You know, Howard eventually knocked him out of the box. And it was exciting. You know, and then we're on in Los Angeles. I'll tell you that when it really got, for some reason you put, you know, markers in your life. And I just know that after we came on the E! Show, I went to do a charity thing down in New Orleans, and we're on Bourbon Street. My wife and I are sitting upstairs in this wrought iron thing, having a bowl of gumbo, watching the freaks on Bourbon Street, and the waiter comes over and nonchalantly says, "You enjoying the gumbo? How about you, Nancy?" He not only knew me, he knew my wife by name. And I said, you know what, we must be getting big. You know, we're not in Bayville, Long Island, we're in New Orleans, you know. You enjoying your gumbo, Jackie? How about you, Nancy? And I was like, I looked over like, I thought that was very cool, because they don't just know Howard and Robin, they knew me and they knew my wife. I mean, and you know, how long, we had been on the E! Show for, you know, not even 6 months, you know.
Now people know who Beetlejuice is.
Yeah, right.
All types of people.
I was married to him, too.
Yeah. What was the turning point in your career?
You know, it's so funny, because when I heard about your show, I had a joke in I graduated from Michigan State University as a mechanical engineer.
Spartan.
Yeah. I was a mechanical engineer, and I used my diploma to roll pot, right? I never did anything with my engineering degree. And then I came up with this joke, because obviously I sent my records to Howard. He called me up. I went in 1 day a week. And after he went to mornings on K-Rock, I went in 1 day a week, and then 2 days a week. And within a couple months, I was there 5 days a week and became, you know, I was handing him notes, and I became a writer and a regular cast member, which so obviously meeting Howard Stern was the turning point in my career. But the joke I used to say was, and it's the only joke I ever used that had anything to do with engineering or mathematics or calculus. I said, the turning point in my career was meeting Howard Stern. But of course, when you're going around in circles, everything's a turning point, right? Which was just a classic, you know, it's a classic tangent engineering calculus joke, you know, and I always thought that was very, very funny. And obviously, meeting him was, I mean, before I met him, I was so thrilled that I met Rodney. But, you know, that was a big, big deal at the time. But meeting Howard and becoming part of that whole thing is just unbelievable. Just, you know, it just launched a ride that was spectacular.
You have regrets about leaving?
You know, it's a weird thing. I really wish I was back on the show, because it was so much fun. You know, what I did at the time, it's been gone over and over and over, but I was drinking too much, I was crazy, I was burnt out. But like anybody, why didn't you just do something about it, Jackie? There was no way out for me. So, you know, leaving the show was what I thought I had to do at the time. And in retrospect, you know, in the place where I was in no place where I could make a intelligent decision, probably, you know. And it was great fun. But what I missed the most, you know, it was great being famous, great having a lot of money, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't realize how unnatural it is to sit with 3 other people and laugh for 5 hours, 5 days a week. I mean, we'd sit there, and me especially, I would just laugh, and it was so much fun every day. You know, I'd have more fun in 1 day on that show than I would have in a month now, just because it was packed. You know, I remember at the end of the show, I'd sit up and say, oh, that was a great show, and they'd make fun of me, but every day it was just fun. And that's what you miss.
When we come back, we'll have our final few minutes with Jackie the Jolt Man Martling.
Guy walks in the doctor's office, sticks out his 9-inch tongue. The nurse goes, ah. How do you say constipated in German? Far from pooping. How we doing?
Turning Point is brought to you by PC Wealth Management of Morgan Stanley Smith Barney and the law firm of Duffy & Duffy, protecting the victims of medical error.
Hi, I'm Kevin Jonas.
And I'm Danielle Jonas.
And we chose to have our wedding at Oheka Castle because it's an amazing place where dreams can definitely come true.
Oheka is a real-life castle built back in 1919 by Otto Herman Kahn. During the Roaring '20s, he entertained famous celebrities such as Charlie Chaplin and Enrico Caruso. Lots of cool stuff happens at Oheka Castle, like weddings, bar and bat mitzvahs, sweet 16s, and historic mansion tours.
And this is Oheka Castle in Huntington, New York. So we love it there, and we cannot wait to go back.
Today at Atlantic Honda, we decided to interview some real customers.
They're family-oriented, and I really like the spot.
The price is fantastic. I wasn't even planning on getting a brand new car, and I wound up getting a 12.
Lease a 2012 Civic LX for just $89 a month. Lease a 2012 Accord for just $139 a month.
There's so much to choose from. It was hard, you know.
Got 10 cars to them.
Have a very good finance program.
This surpasses anything we've ever experienced in other Honda dealerships.
Visit AtlanticHonda.com.
Attention, oxygen therapy users, for this important message.
I lost my freedom the day I went on oxygen. Those tanks, they kept me from really enjoying my life. Hi, I'm Mary, an oxygen expert here at Inogen. If you require supplemental oxygen, we can help you regain your freedom and independence. Meet the new Inogen One. It's a lightweight and easy-to-use portable oxygen concentrator that makes its own oxygen. It works just like your in-home concentrator, but it's much smaller and lighter. Take your independence back and do the things you love without worrying about running out of oxygen. The Inogen One is even approved for air travel.
I first got this Inogen One, I thought, this is a godsend. This is a real piece of art.
Call now and we'll send you this free information kit. If you have Medicare or other insurance, you may be eligible to reclaim your freedom with the Inogen One at little or no additional cost.
Call 1-866-880-4355 for your free no-obligation information kit. Call 1-866-880-4355 today.
Welcome back. Our final few minutes with Jackie Martling. Where do you go from here? You've had this great career. What happens now?
Well, I should be doing a television show, which I'm not yet. I should be writing a book, which I'm not yet. But
why not? Why haven't you done these things?
I made just enough money that it didn't make me hungry enough, you know. So I've been really, really having a great time. I quit drinking 10 years ago, and I'm just having a great time.
You're not a workaholic.
You know what? I was, and I literally stop myself now. I make myself have fun, and you know. But I got a million. Yeah, I always have a million things going, you know. I mean, I'll be making a best of CD, and I'm syndicating the Stump the Joke Man radio show, and I'm going around the country and collect jokes and make it a reality show. I got all these ideas. I just really enjoy jokes, and I like delivering them, and anything I can do. I'm trying to get some more time on Sirius XM, whatever I can do. I want to tell you a joke.
Go ahead.
The wife's out on the deck drinking a glass of wine. And the husband comes out with his newspaper. He sits down, he's reading a newspaper, and his wife says, "I love you. I love you so much. I couldn't make it through a day without you." The husband puts down the newspaper. He says, "Is that you talking, or is that the wine talking?" She says, "It's me talking to the wine."
It's a great note to end on. Jackie, you're funny as always. Our special guest.
I always tell people, if you want to get on the Jokeland email list, just email me, jokeland@AOL.com, JOKELAND@AOL.com. I answer all my email, believe it or not.
And 516?
516-922-WINE is jokes 24/7, and I always say where I'm, and if you ever want to know where I'm working, jokeland.com. I've had the same website forever.
The always plugging, the very special Jackie Martling.
Sirius XM, Jackie's Joke Hunt, 7 p.m. Eastern on Howard 101.
Thanks for being here, and thank you for being here.
You better say goodbye. I'll keep plugging.
Keep plugging. Put it underneath, too.
All right.